I wonder if it's working.
We'll know in about 45 minutes.
All right. Well, then I'm just going to dive in, assuming everything's working just amazing. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about a new acronym you and I have been working on, which is RISE. So it's new, but just making sure everyone understands this. This is kind of our skill set portion of the conversation. So RISE stands for resilience, initiative, systems, and excellence. So tell me, Brent, which one of those is your favorite? Do you have a favorite?
Uh, yes. And the reason why it's my favorite is because foundationally, everything else spins off of this. Meaning, if this isn't well positioned and taken care of, then nothing else matters. And it's the very first letter, resilience, which to me is mindset, right? Is your bounce back power, your ability to push through hard times and not fall into scarcity, or if you do fall into scarcity, how to get yourself out of it.
Interesting. So I love that you're bringing that up because that's honestly my favorite too. I think if you like, okay, resilience, initiative, systems, excellence. So if you're not excellent, you don't really have systems, maybe you lack some initiative, but you're resilient. Like I would say that's the number one reason why agents get out of the business is because they lack the resilience. Because I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Brent, but if you're going to be a real estate agent for a career, you're probably going to get punched in the face a few times. Would you? Can you concur?
Well, here's the reality is in life in general, we get punched in the face all the time. And it's how we choose to react to that punch in the face. The difference is once you're in real estate, your income is tied to it, right? So you can go get a job that pays you, you know, 20 bucks an hour, 30 bucks an hour, 40 bucks an hour, have not great resilience, bad mindset, whatever, show up, do the job, and you're still going to get your paycheck. The alternate side of that is in real estate. If you show up and you're not resilient, you don't have the mindset, the paycheck never shows up. So that's the difference. I mean, the reality is in life, in just overall in general, mindset is crucial, but in real estate, your income's tied to it.
Yeah,
Being
yeah.
an entrepreneur, honestly. So real
But
estate is
Brent,
just a
that's like
world of entrepreneurship.
I'll take like the other side of this, which I know you're in, but like that's one of my favorite things about real estate is it is freaking tough. It's very difficult and you've got to be resilient. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you are, not everyone is. So when this business is punching people in the face, you know, I think what 9 out of 10 of those people in the first couple years, they're not getting off the map, bro. They're getting out of the business. So like that's great news if you're one of those people that likes to get up after you get punched in the face.
Here's what's interesting or funny to me, anyways, is all of like when that lawsuit was happening and like the structure of income was going to change. I don't know, we can, most of
Oh yeah,
you,
I
unless you were
remember.
under a rock, remember that. And so you would see agents posting about it all the time. And if you get in the comments, it's every non-agent talking about like, oh, you guys aren't worth anything. Realtors are worthless. Look at you trying to justify yourself, all of those things in the comments. The funny thing about it is, I would guess that the ratio would be exactly the same. 9 out of 10 of the people commenting would fail out of real estate. The ones saying you're not worth it, you're worthless, realtors don't do anything, they don't realize how incredibly difficult this industry is, in the form of you're unemployed every single morning when you wake up. So for those listening, kudos to you for still being in this business and for still getting after it every single day, because I think we're an anomaly. There's very few people that are like successful real estate agents.
Yeah, and when you can succeed at this business, I mean, it's funny because a lot of people come in here and have success. They were highly successful prior,
Yeah.
and or like they could probably be successful doing a lot of things, and they just happen to choose to remain in real estate. So
Hold
let's
on,
get.
hold on, hold on. I do want to add one thing to this because I think it's an interesting spin. So there was a lot of people. The ratio probably wasn't 9 out of 10 between 20, call it 2018 and 2021. The ratio was probably much lower because you didn't have to have a great mindset. You didn't have to have a great skill set in order to sell enough real estate to earn an income. So there is kind of this other side of it. Like in a really hot market, everybody's a genius, everybody's amazing, everybody's a great entrepreneur. And so what I love is that the shift in the market, it's gotten significantly more challenging, has brought out the best in the best. And you're seeing people either fall out or decide to do it part-time or whatever. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't disagree at all. And in fact, here's evidence for us. You and I are real estate coaches, and we, help people, hit their goals. So here's an interesting thought on that front. Um, when we are coaching and providing classes in that market, 2018 through 2021, not very many people showed up for free stuff. Like,
Yeah.
hey, we're putting this on just to give back. We saw issues like people dealing with multiple offers. They didn't know how to do it. We teach a multiple offer class. No one shows up. Why? Well, because are selling homes, so they're geniuses. And then the market shifts, and so now those people, like we can pack a house even on a webinar. We couldn't get 5 people show up on a webinar. 2 weeks ago we had 70 people show up on a webinar.
Yeah.
I know you've got a webinar coming up here in a couple weeks that, we're probably going to have 50 to 100 people show up. That would have been 5 to 10 max. So, what's the difference? Well, I think when things are going well, oftentimes it's because of what I'm doing, Brent.
Yeah.
And when things are going bad, it's not because of me. It's because of whatever, the market or my broker or whatever. So
So do you think that it's the top people that in a busy market are finding a different way to educate themselves because they're just too damn busy? So they're not showing up to those things. But I guess when the shift happens, I don't, by the way, they're still all busy. A lot of them are still incredibly busy, but we're seeing more and more of those people show up. Is it a shift in the mindset of top producers and low producers because of the market? Do you think everybody falls prey to it? I guess that's the question is when a market's really good, is everybody falling prey to it's not, it's me. It's because of me that I'm finding all of this success.
oh, wow. It's a good question. So I'm going to take you back through history lane just for a second. I feel like I maybe not look like it, but I feel like an old man when I explain this. This is my 20th year in real estate. November 1st will be 20 years. I go back to '05 when I got into business. This is just kind of funny. The fax machine was ringing, Brent. Like, I don't know if anyone
Is
even
that a
knows what
machine
that
that
is.
spits out facts?
FAX.
Oh, fact.
Yeah, I
Got
think
it.
it's short for facsimile transmission. So it was
Wow.
basically emailed documents, but without email. It was just like the printer would start printing something and it'd make a funny noise. And I literally remember, I'm like, what is that? And they're like, oh, it's a fax. And I'm like, what are we getting faxed? And they're like, oh, it's probably another offer. That was like week one of real estate for me in 2005. So it was crazy. It was a crazy market. And then, of course, we know the Great Recession came, hammered us. We would have people show up. There was something called, after the Great Recession, there was something called agent to agent our valley. At the time, I think we only had 1,800 agents, Brent. Right now, we have like 8,000. We'd have 300 people show up to this event. This is 2009, 10, 11. Well, in 2012, we have 50 people show up, and half of them were like lenders and inspectors and stuff. So no one would come. Why? Because the market started getting better. So I do think, as the market ebbs and flows, people's busy ebbs and flows. And it's shifting gears a little bit, but it's on the same exact vein. Um, you either are committed to growing every day or you're not. You seek growth when you have problems. But when problems aren't there, you just think you're the man or the woman, right? And so you're like, la da dee, la da da. I already know everything. Your ego is like, I already know how to do this. Oh, I've heard Brent. I listened to that podcast one time, so I'm good. Right. And this happens in lead generation too, where it's like I know I have to lead gen from 9 a.m. to 11. But a client calls and says, "Hey, can you show me this home tomorrow at 10 a.m.?" Now, this is a gut check. If you're listening to this in a realtor, you're like, "Yeah, of course I can." Well, okay. What if you said, "Hey, I actually have an appointment. Can we look at it at noon?" 9 times out of 10, that client's going to be like, "Oh yeah, no problem." But 9 out of 10 realtors, Brent, they're going to say, "I'll
Well,
see you at 10."
yeah, absolutely. And then 3 months down the road, their business drops because they're running their business that way. They get, they lead generate, they get busy, they start having clients want to transact. So the clients then take over the agent's schedule and dictate what happens on the agent's schedule because the agent doesn't have control. 3 months later, their business drops. Then they start lead generating again.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is that cycle, that up and down cycle that we see realtors go through, and I'm sure all business owners to some extent go through this, where it's like, you're working on the business, and then all of a sudden you get business. Now you're working in the business, in it, in it, in it, in it, and then you're like, crap, I have no business. I need to work on it again, and
Yeah.
you just roller coaster.
Gary Keller says this, and I 100% agree. Regardless of the business you're in, if you're an entrepreneur, your number one job is lead generation. And it's because lead generation is where the rubber meets the road. It's where the actual income happens. So I'm always perplexed that when the result happens from the lead generation, we turn the money printer off. Like, just like step back and think about that metaphor for a second. You have the ability to turn on a machine that prints money. And for whatever reason, people decide to turn the machine off. What would you, if you had a money printing machine, Chase, would you ever turn the machine off?
Uh,
If it could run 7 days a week.
I kind of feel like this is an IQ test, and I want to pass, so I'm going to keep it on. That's what I'm choosing. I'm going to keep it on.
But agents have that choice every single day. Am I going to turn the money printing switch off, or am I going to leave it on? And so many times when we're coaching with agents, mentoring agents, or just in a group teaching agents, you hear the inconsistency in their lead generation, which is the money printing machine side of their business. In other words, they're choosing to turn it off on a regular basis. It just blows my mind.
Yeah. Well, Brent, the real estate agents who are crushing it have figured out that getting business is just as important as handling business.
Or more important.
Yeah.
Depends on how you want to angle it, but
Yeah.
it's equally as important, if not more important. And honestly, we could probably talk about this for the next 30 minutes. And
There's some news, man.
I want to transition into some headlines here. What do you got for us, dude?
All right. So delistings jump 47% as sellers pull listings. And that's from realtor.com and the New York Post. So
Okay.
why do you think people are taking their homes off the market, Brent?
Okay. So there's probably a multitude of reasons. And if you went down the vein of all of those reasons, I would venture to say that there's probably one common denominator inside of most of those. And, if you're listening to this, this is not talking smack about you. This is not the goal, right?
That's the other realtors. It's
Hey,
not you,
it's the
it's the
other
other
realtors.
agents.
Like, if this feels like a 2x4 to the face,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's
Hey,
not.
guess what? It's you. It's you.
uh, but the common denominator, in my opinion, for sellers removing their listings is realtors are uneducated and not applying the proper skill set for today's market. Period. The end. Because
Oof.
if a majority of real estate agents were changing their skill set based on the information they're gathering for today's market, that number would be drastically smaller.
Got it.
What do I mean by that, Chase? What, like, when you hear that, what are you thinking?
Well, what I guess what I'm thinking is like, first of all, so you're the agent out there and you're like, hey, my seller's crazy. Like they wanted this X price. Like, what am I gonna do? Not list it? And the answer is yeah,
Yeah.
don't list it. But secondly, like if let's just say there was like this monopoly on listings, and you're actually I'll flip this and I'll just say if you had to write a check for $5,000 every time you took a listing, would you price it right?
Yeah.
And I think the answer is yes. And Brent and I run a real estate team in Boise, and one of the things we know is we write a check every time we take a listing, and it's pretty significant. So that's just something to keep in your back pocket. It's like, imagine you had to write a check to take this listing. Like, are you going to take it at the price they said? So, yes, some of those people never should have listed their home because they never would price it right. That's true. Let's just say of the 47% that got delisted, let's just take that percentage. Let's just say like a quarter of them never were going to get reasonable ever. And then I think you have another quarter of them where agents simply don't know what they're doing. They just don't know. And I know this, Brent, because when I call expired listings, I'll ask them like, "Hey, how'd you come up with the price?" What do you think they say, Brent?
Well, I can just tell you from experience what people say is I got it from Zillow, or I got it from realtor.com, or I saw
Or
with the
the
house
agent
down the
told me.
or I saw at the house. Well, here's what I'm like. Here's what I'm hearing when I hear that. The house down the street sold for X. I saw it on Zillow. I saw it on realtor.com, or the realtor told me. In all of those scenarios, the realtor okayed the price.
100%. Yeah. And there is a specific amount where the realtor's like, yeah, we can get X. And then their ego is so sold on X, they won't even
Mhm.
ask the client for a price reduction
Yeah.
because they think they messed up. So go back to skill. Are they giving themselves the opportunity to not be an expert? I've been doing this 20 years. I've sold over 3,500 homes, Brent. I walk into a listing. You know what I say? I'm like, I have no idea what it's going to sell for exactly. And
Yeah.
any agent who comes in here and says that, get a check from them and have them write it to you for that amount right now.
I wish that sellers could hear this conversation. The rawness and the realness of this conversation. Someone who's sold as many homes as you, or as many homes as I've sold, both of us would say, and by the way, other top agents that I know in this market that are top in the nation, same exact thing. I have no idea exactly what it's going to sell for. And yet inexperienced agents go in and say, here's the market value. Here's what it's going to sell for. Here's what I'm
Yeah.
going to get for you. And so
Well,
that's probably mistake number one, right? What's mistake number two?
well, mistake number two is like buying the story from the seller, right? Like, well, we put in, you know, Brent, I just put in brand new carpet, and they don't ask him like why. Well, because it smelled like shit and it had stains, and like, okay, well, homes aren't supposed to smell like that, and they're not supposed to have stains. So, like, you didn't add value; you just made it what it should be.
Yes.
There's a lot of lack of education around what adds value. Like, hey, I just mowed the lawn, Brent. Like, let's get this price up.
Okay. So The mistake is that they let the client use non-valid justifications as to why it's worth more.
They
And
buy
it's
the story.
how
Yeah,
does
yeah,
how
yeah.
does somebody or an agent know if something adds value or doesn't add value?
Well, here's a simple simple thing. And we've got a couple other news stories I want to get to too, but here's a simple thing. When's the last time your buyer said, "Hey, did the seller do X?" That's an instant gut check. So when the seller's like, "Hey, we this home's 50 years old, but we put a new roof on." And then you talk to your buyer and you're like, "Hey, what do you want to offer?" And the buyer's like, "Hey, find out when did they put the roof on? I want to see if I want to add more money." Like it doesn't exist. It
Yeah.
doesn't exist. It's very nuanced what adds value. And this is like a skill thing. We could talk, no joke, we could talk for hours about. But if it's expected in the home, it's probably not going to add value. And you could figure that out by like what's happening in the comps. What are
Yeah.
the active competition looking like? What's it looking like? And that's the last thing, Brent, that I guess I want to say on this. And we can I'll give you the last word for like 1 minute. But the agents are using sold and pendings and then pricing. So
Yeah.
what's the problem with that?
So here's the challenge in the market that we're currently in. It's your active competition because the inventory is climbing. It's your active competition that's going to dictate what you sell for, not the history, not the past. And unfortunately, if you look at the 47% of people delisted, unfortunately, a majority of those agents probably used historical data in order to price the home because that's what we've been used to. So
Yep.
they haven't altered their skill set for the current market. The current market says what I need to do is I need to look at active inventory. I need to look at absorption rate. So how many in that area in that price and in the features of the home are going pending per month. So it's like, all right, there's 10 active and 3 went pending in the last 30 days. Well, there's a 30% absorption rate. What does that tell you, Chase? If there's a 30% absorption rate and homes are sitting on the market, where do you need to price your home?
I mean, at the very worst case scenario in the top 30%. Like I'd like to be number one, to be honest with you, but in the top 30%, otherwise you're probably not going to sell.
Yeah, and here's the way you present that is like, hey, do you want to sell in the next 30 days? And the seller says,
Yes.
okay, perfect. So do you want to be one of the 7 that don't sell or one of the 3 that do?
I love it. I love it.
I
All
want to
right,
be one
let's
of the
jump.
3 that do. Okay. So in order to be one of the 3 that do, you have to you have to out compete the other 7.
Yeah, and I think the caveat is like ask them questions like Brent's doing, like recognize what he's doing. He's asking questions, causing them to self discover.
Yes.
So let's jump to another article that just hit. We don't have to spend a ton of time on this, but I thought it was interesting. Is that wealthy strategy via residency? So what's happening is wealthy families. I'm put wealthy in quotes because I think that's all subjective, but for their kids going to college in order to save money, they're actually buying homes in the state so they can
Mm.
get residency. So, what do you think about that?
Okay. Well, being an entrepreneur and a real estate agent, the first place my mind goes with this is how do I align myself with people that are moving here? Their kids are moving here to go to college, and how do I educate them on how to do this?
Yeah.
That's where my mind goes. But I have a lot of other thoughts, but honestly, like that's the only part of that story that I care about is like how do I, as an agent, how would I through strategic positioning find people whose kids are going to go to BSU or wherever, and how would I, or whatever state or college you're near, and then how would I pitch them on buying a home to reduce their tuition?
Yeah. Yeah, I would look at like what colleges are near me, if any. And if there's colleges near me, what are the rules in that state to get residency? And simple, easy thing. And you're actually going to thank me for this later. If you're not using GPTs, if you're not using AI, ChatGPT, Claude, uh, uh, what's the X one? Why can't I? Grok. There you go. If you're
Grok.
not using these things, just go to it right now and just be like, hey, I live in blank and the college by me is blank. What would have to happen for someone to get in state tuition? How do they get residency? There's different rules in different states. This is very simple. Just ask, like, what would it be? Then I would be like, okay, how can I get in front of some of these students or the people that are coming to the area? And I think there's a number of ways you could do that. But I mean, gosh, even just going to the campus and figuring out who lives there, like who's renting in the area. You could talk to property managers. I think there's a number of ways you could probably drum up some business from that. But recognizing what it is, you could create social media. Hey, did you know if you're moving to the X area and sending your kid here, you could actually save money on their college? DM me and I'll show you how. Like there's some simple things you could do to get some business there.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, this last one is interesting. It's a little sad, a little funny, but I'm actually going to share my screen on this one, Brent. So,
I'm looking
so
at the article title right now, dude. Wow, this is hilarious.
yeah. I mean, it's kind of like, ugh, what would you do? So, all right. So the article is this: the realtor and the love rival, bitter feud spills onto San Francisco streets. So, long story short, this real estate agent is suing someone for defamation because they printed flyers and put them on cars for some reason, and apparently it's like an ex love feud. So here's some of the flyers. You can see a picture of the two of them um, flipping off the ex. Apparently, this guy is dating this girl now, and they've created this flyer, and essentially they put some negative stuff on it. Here it is. I'll let you read that. I'm not going to read it out loud, but looks like it's pretty interesting. So I guess what I'm curious about is like if someone came after your character as a real estate professional, how would you handle it? I mean, this realtor is getting publicity. Is all publicity good publicity, Brent? What do you think?
Okay. Well, I have to read the article more in depth, but let's just for the sake of playing around with the idea, let's assume that this is just a crazy ex, right? That's a pretty crazy thing to do. Like flipping pictures of you flipping off and then smearing someone all over the place. So I'm going to assume that that person is batshit crazy. Bleep that out. But I'm just going to assume that they're crazy. So when you ask, is any PR good PR? I think that a lot of people are going to see through how crazy that person is. And a lot of people are going to now know who this real estate agent's name is. They're going to know his name now. So if I
Yeah,
were the agent, I like the defamation suit. That's awesome. I get it. Like, I don't know that I would go down that route, but I would probably leverage it to get more people to know who I am, because most people are going to associate the other person as crazy, and it's automatically going to be discounted. That's my take.
so this is what's interesting to me is like, why does him being a realtor have anything to do with this? It almost makes me feel like this is some sort of genius publicity stunt between the three of them. That's what
Yeah.
I honestly think about, because I'm like, why would they say he's a realtor? But I'm guessing it's because of the defamation suit. Maybe he's saying like, hey, I'm not going to get as much business now because they made me look bad and I'm a real estate
Well,
agent. And
think
of
about it.
course,
What's your product in real estate?
yourself, right?
It's your reputation.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
it's the standards you stand behind.
Yeah.
And so if they're, quote unquote defaming that.
Well, if you're watching this, let us know in the comments. Do you think this is a genius publicity stunt, or do you think this is just some crazy people having a little love feud out loud? Let us know.
It's hilarious.
All right, Brent. I
Dude.
know it's time for hot takes. What do you got for us, man? What's
All right. So
going? What are we
first
talking
of
about?
all, here's what we do. Here, like I scour. Don't hate me. I am not a social media junkie, but I scour social media, and the algorithm has somehow picked up that I like sit and like read the comments of these posts. And so it started serving them up to me and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, okay. What am I going to do with this useless information that now is being served up to me constantly on social media?" And so basically what it is people have figured out that you can say you know, they call them hot takes, a really bold statement, and then they follow it up with some context. So I figured it would be interesting for us to use the hot take. So I've pulled some hot takes out, and so I'll say the hot take, and then let's talk about our thoughts around
Okay,
if we think it's true or not and why.
let's hear it.
All right. So first one, you're not a tough market, you're in a lazy market.
All right. All right. So where my mind goes is that the majority of agents, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on which one you are, I'm sure you're not the lazy one, but the majority of agents are lazy. Like the market's moved, which means you got to move. So if you're not willing to move or change the way that you've done things, then you're probably blaming the market. And here's the real hot take. If you're blaming the market, you're not looking in the mirror.
Yeah. So the lazy part, in my opinion, is because there was a lot of people hustling in the busy market. I think my take is someone being in a lazy market, quote unquote lazy market, is a significant amount of agents haven't invested in what is the most important thing in today's market, which is your skill set. And that is a constant sharpening of your sword every single day. It should be a part of your daily regimen to work on your skill set. And if you're
So it
not,
should be on your calendar.
yeah, 100%. And if you're not, like, frankly, you're being lazy.
Yeah. I,
So,
I don't I don't disagree. And I guess the last word on this one is like here's the problem. If you blame the market, what you're doing is giving the market control. And what you're actually doing when you're giving the market control is you're removing your own control.
mm,
And how can you fix something you can't control?
okay, I'm going to stop you right there because this next hot take actually, this tees up the next hot take perfectly.
All right, let's hear
Okay.
it.
So AI isn't taking your job. Your inaction is.
Oof.
Okay, so here's my take on that. Uh, if number one, if you're not using or learning to leverage AI inside of your business, AI will take your business. Like we have a lot of AI technology in our business. We have, systems to follow up with new lead registrations and clients, and it's AI, it's robots. But if you're not leveraging it, then you're just going to get smoked and left in the dust. That's number one. But number two is if let's just hypothetically say you choose to never leverage it. Well, if you're not increasing your activity, your action, then you're also going to get smoked because the agents that are leveraging AI are becoming more efficient, more effective. And, you know, uh, let me give you an example, Chase. The AI that we use has a 55% answer rate for new leads. Okay. Human based with multiple agents working leads, our answer response rate, even better, with phone, text, and email was in the 30% range, like between 30 and 40%. So why is AI getting 55% answer rate
Well, because it does what it says it's going to do.
all the
And
time
there's no
without fail?
emotion. There's no
Yeah.
emotion. AI doesn't think like, oh, I've already called them 4 times. They must not like me. I'm not going to call them the fifth. AI just does it.
Yeah.
This actually, this is interesting, Brent. I want to say something, and then I want to go into one of the reasons why you and I are launching a group coaching program. So here's what I can already hear. Like I'm sitting here watching this. I'm a successful real estate agent, whatever. I'm busy, dude. I don't have time to go research AI and all this new technology. I don't even know if it's going to stick around. So like, dude, what am I supposed to do? Yeah, I'm using ChatGPT or Grok or whatever, and it's helping me write listing remarks. But like, dude, I don't have time to go study this stuff. When am I going to sell real estate? So that's one of the reasons why you and I are launching group coaching. And I guess I just like, how would group coaching and AI benefit someone right now?
Well, the limiting belief that's bounced between my ears, honestly, is wow, with all of this AI advancement, will people need coaching, or is my coaching business going to suffer because of it? And just being fully transparent, like that was the limiting belief. And what we know, Chase, is if you fight hard enough for your limiting beliefs, you get to keep them.
Yeah.
So I've had to reconcile with that. And here's the reality that I came to is I think more than ever, people need coaching, mentorship, and guidance in the world of AI because things change so quickly that it takes a group of minds and a group of masterminding and a group of guidance in order to pivot quickly. That's my
Yeah.
that's my
Well,
over that's my
you
pitch
hit the
really.
nail on the head. I mean, the reality is you don't have to go study and find out which AI is doing X and which AI is doing Y, but you better have someone in your world who is. And that's why we're launching group coaching. You should be able to, if you're seeing this and you have questions, like reach out to us. You can send an email to grow@realestate.network. Um,
Realestategrowth.network.
realestategrowth.network. You can send an email there, or if you're watching on YouTube, there should be a link. You can get some more information on group coaching. But that's one of the reasons why we're launching a group coaching program is because there is too much going on. And if you're an individual agent or even an agent on a team, or even if you have a group and you don't have time to go study and research and do all this stuff and sell homes and hit your goals, that's what group coaching exists for. So, what else do we got on hot takes? You got any more?
Last hot take. I liked this one because it could be spun multiple ways, and I liked the way they spun it. But I'm curious how you would spin this. You're not burned out. You're just bored and broke.
Oh God. Okay, okay. So burnout is the excuse. Like, oh, I'm burnt out, blah blah blah. But the reality is, you know what you should do. It's boring. I should make calls, but I already know that. I just don't like to do it. And if you're broke, it's because you're not making calls. So that's interesting. I mean, I totally agree with that. By the way, like I see plenty of people, Brent, who are like, I just don't know how to handle this market. And it's like, okay, how many calls you make today? Well, you know, like I just look, this market's hard, right? They're focusing on everything but themselves.
Yeah,
And here's the reality, Brent. This business is complicated as we are making it sound. It's very simple. You are either helping someone buy or sell a home. That's one of the things we do, or you're finding someone that you can help buy and sell a home. That's it. There's only two
it's
things that
simple.
really exist.
It's simple.
Yeah, it's
But
very I'm not saying it's easy, but it's very simple.
yeah,
So when they say you're bored and broke, well, you're bored because you know what you need to do. You were just hoping there was something that was more fun or less stress or less friction.
so here was my take. My knee jerk when I first read that was my head instantly went to you're not burned out. You just don't have purpose. That's where my head went. And I think this is multifaceted. I think one of the conditions that we currently have as a society is we doom scroll. We don't monitor what we're putting in our head, the input that we're having. We're not focused on the mentors that we have in our life, and we haven't taken slowed down enough in our life to figure out like why am I doing this every single day? What is the purpose? And here's the reason why purpose I think is create lack of purpose creates burnout is because real estate, real estate, entrepreneurship, anything in life that generates revenue, a lot of time, like success is boring. It's mundane. It's monotonous. It's repetitive. And yes, I said monotonous and repetitive on purpose. So the reality is if you have a inner purpose, that's where you get the excitement, and that's where you get the drive to continue, is because you are pushing towards this thing that matters to you so much. And burnout becomes a thing of the past when you have something like that. That's an instantly knee-jerk reaction when I read that.
Oof. Well, I don't disagree with any of that. I mean, I think it's not that you don't know what to do. You know, you need to talk to more people about real estate. Period. So, what are you waiting for? I mean, that's the bottom line. So let's land the plane here. We're out of time. That was quick. I mean, it didn't feel like 45 minutes. So how are we closing out here, Brant? What's like some takeaways or ahas? What are some things that are running through your head here?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway I have from our conversation wraps around skill set. So if you're listening to this and you're not focused on skill set, especially as it pertains to pricing listings, but skill set in the conversations you should be having. I was coaching a group of agents yesterday, or sorry, 2 days ago, and we were talking about objections, and they were saying, the market, the economy, rates, all of these things, and their response was in the conversation to a client was to problem solve it. And the reality is like, well, why would you problem solve it? You don't even know if they're motivated. You don't know if there's motivation there. So why wouldn't we go to motivation first? And so, back to skill set. So my takeaway from this whole conversation is, if you're not putting a significant amount of time into your skill set, knowing what to say, how to say it, why you're saying it, the context behind it, how it applies to the current market, how it applies to your life, how it applies to the consumer. If you're not focused on that, then the market's only going to get harder for you.
Yeah, and since you brought up skill set and you said the most important skill set right now is pricing listings right, I just want to give people a little gem, the people who stuck it out for the whole entire thing. Here's another little gem. I'll give you two, actually. The best way to get a price reduction is on the listing appointment before you ever list the property. Get it priced right then. That's when you should fight. It's way easier up front, right? Any of you that have ever had a job somewhere, it's way easier to get the income you want during the interview process than it is after you start working there and you want to get, a big pay increase. So it's the same exact thing here. Like, go into that listing appointment confident, be knowledgeable, share your knowledge with them, ask them questions that cause them to self-discover what the value really is. And then if you're actually, you're like, Chase, that's cool, but I've got 20 listings that are sitting that I overprice. Okay. So simple. Use what Brent said earlier. He said, pull the active comps. So what's the competition I'm working with? How many homes in this, meeting this criteria have sold in the last week? Okay. Go to your seller and say, hey, these sold in the last week. So there was 10 on the market, 7 didn't sell, 3 did. What do you think we need to do, Mr. Seller, to be one of the 3 that sell this week? Such a great way to present this to your client. Yeah. It was
so great. That honestly, those are if for the people that stuck it out all 45 minutes, those 2 things right there, by far the most valuable thing of the entire podcast. So Chase, thank you for that, man.
And you can be a mastermind at marketing if you just create a bitter love rivalry and then get free advertising. It sounds like.
That's a good takeaway too.
Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I'm honestly curious.
Chase, do you want to post a bunch of pictures of me and flip me off somewhere? I think that would go over really well, and I think we'd get a lot of business. Let's do it.
We got to get more marketing out of it this time.
All right. Everybody on here, thank you so much for showing up, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Brent. See you guys.